I believe as a father, there's certain things where you just need to kind of like pull them with you, like pull the family with you to do the thing that needs to happen. And so, for example, very often, like actually happened today, my wife was like, Raylan, you want to go for a walk with us? And she's like asking her if she wants to go. And it's like, no, the sun's out. It's been rainy and stormy. Like, we're going on a walk. And so I'm like, no, come on. You're coming down. We're going on a walk, right? Because she said no. She said, no, I don't want to go. And I said, no, come down. We're going on a walk together. And it's like, we're going to go do this thing as a family, because actually I've been on calls all night. So, like, that was the only chance we were going to spend together today. So there's a little bit of that where I'm not going to ask permission, right? I think you do need to use your authority for positive outcomes for everyone. Like, my daughter didn't complain, actually. She got on her bike and she was super pumped that we were outside and she played at the playground and right. But she's thinking in her child brain of, no, I just want to stay in my room where I'm at comfortably right now. So, back to like the dinner table thing, I know many dads are real big about like, hey, our time at the table together as a family is really important. So, like, where do you draw the line in terms of, well, I want to be a peaceful parent, but I, at least George thinks there are certainly times where I know best. And so even though you're going to complain in the moment, you're actually going to be grateful in after the moment. And that's called leadership. So, maybe I'm not understanding fully, but it kind of seems like maybe we disagree on this. So I'd love for you to kind of explain.
Yeah. So, I mean, if it's a recurring problem, I think that's a little bit of a different story. So, like, if every single day the kid is saying, "No, I don't want to go on a walk with you. No, I don't want to sit at the dinner table," I think it could be really helpful to kind of figure out like what's going on here. Like, is there something I don't understand about why you don't want to eat with us? Why you don't want to go on a walk with us? Maybe there's a perfectly legitimate reason. Maybe there's just something that's just not clicking with the kid. You know, I don't know, maybe like the chair is like stabs them in like the back or something. Like I don't know, like maybe there's some like thing it's like, "Oh, I would totally feel the same way if I was in that position." Maybe their sibling always like stabs them with a fork or something. Like I don't know. I'm coming up with violent ideas, but like
Yeah, yeah,
there could be a perfectly legitimate reason why they don't want to go. And so if it's a recurring like pattern, I'd want to, outside of the heat of the moment, I would want to say, I've noticed you don't want to sit with us at the dinner table. Like, can you tell me like what's going on here? Kind of go through that framework I was talking about instead of just saying like, yeah, I don't really like, I don't want to present it unfairly, but like,
yeah.
I don't care what you think, you have to come right now. Um, I kind of tend to err on the side of if somehow I don't know. My mantra is kind of prevention. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, right? And so if I know there's going to be some kind of challenging thing for my kid, and I can anticipate it, I like to prepare my kid for that challenge ahead of time. And
Sure.
so that might mean talking through it, talking about like, all right, so when this challenge comes, what are we going to do? Are you going to do it this way? Are we going to do it that way? And if it's a big enough deal, kind of getting their agreement on it and saying like, okay, we can go to the birthday party as long as like you agree we're not going to eat like 5 pieces of cake or whatever your concerns are, right?
I need to like add one thing too. Like, I didn't
Sure.
just, so I do believe, and this is actually a military thing, but this is just genius for all forms of leadership. Never just give task and purpose. We are going to do this so that this, and this, right? So with the walk example, no, we're going for a walk together so we can spend time together as a family and the sun is shining, right? Like, it's task and purpose. So it's not just pure direction. But, I just believe that as a father, I mean, your wife even needs this direction a lot of the time, right? As a husband, where, no, we're going to go do this thing. It's good for all of us. Like, I understand you have hesitation or whatever, but even simple things can somehow be like these sticking points. But it's absolutely the right call for the family to like get out of the house and go do a thing together and like break the cycle of whatever funk you may be in. So, I think that's part of kind of the protector and vision role that we play as men. So, I guess maybe it's a little bit of, maybe we're kind of talking two different points here. I kind of disagree with the whole like, oh, well, if you don't want to sit at the table, that's fine. Yes, I'm obviously going to problem solve if there's actually like this chronic thing going on. But I've found very often that I think children are just very like temporally focused on whatever thing is right in front of them. And this is where it's like it's a family value issue here, right? Like, no, we spend time together doing this activity. It's a non-negotiable. You can
Right.
complain about it, but like you're a part of this family. You know what I mean? So it's not. I'm not like authoritarian with it, but I do believe there should be some pretty strong non-negotiables across the table. It sounds like maybe you think that,
There,
but maybe we're talking past
so
each other. So I'm just trying to make sure I'm understanding fully.
there's really good things here though, okay, and from both sides of you guys. So what Luke is trying to do is I understand exactly what it is. He's putting his finger on the pulse, so that he understands why the kid is behaviors are happening and intent and things. But there's also a balance there of picking and choosing your battles, right? And then instead of asking, telling, right? So there are power dynamics, and obviously it is situational. So it's going to be dependent on the situation, but I do see both sides of that, and I agree with both sides to certain extents, right? So it's great to have these healthy differences in fatherhood. I love seeing that.
Yeah, for sure. And just to kind of wrap up what I was trying to say, and it's yeah, no, what you're saying about the finger on the pulse is yeah, that is a good way to summarize what I was saying. I guess so. You're saying picking your battles, right? And so I would say I tend to try to pick as few battles as I can, and just the power struggle, I'm kind of making you do something is kind of setting a precedent that I don't want them to emulate, right? So if I'm going to use my physical force to kind of make my kid do something, then they're going to use the tools at their disposal later on if they're following my example. And so that might be, throwing a tantrum, that might be screaming or refusing to eat or throwing or biting. And so I don't want my kids to kind of respond in the same way. And so, as much as I possibly can, I tend to err on the side of if it's not an emergency, I'm just not going to force them. And so, there are ways I can make it so that I'm just setting them up for success. That's how I think about it. Like I was saying, anticipating the challenges. So, maybe if my child has a hard time yanking themselves out of an activity and just going on a walk, maybe I'll, tell them earlier in the day, hey, let's, we're gonna take a walk at 4 p.m. today. Love it if you could join us. Or after nap time, we're gonna go on a walk. Or when I'm done with my meeting, I'm gonna come out and we're gonna go on a walk. I'd love for you to come with us. And so there are ways we can set her up for success, and before just kind of pulling this like force card kind of out of nowhere. And so that's kind of where I would go if I could anticipate that my kid might not want to go, and just make it as easy and make her want to come, right? So hey, we could you could ride your bike, you could ride your scooter. What is it that I know she would enjoy? Or we're gonna go walk by this one house that she likes to look at, or we're gonna take the dog with us and she can hold the leash, or like whatever it is. So yeah, I like to make it as easy as possible, set the kid up for success, really anticipate what is the resistance point. Is it that she needs to like wrap up whatever she was doing? Is it that she just needs some warning? Like, what is it that I can do to make my, and it is kind of like a trivial example, but like, a lot of parents, like the kid doesn't want to get in the car and put their seatbelt on. And so obviously you have to go, and the kid needs to wear their seatbelt. So it's like a non-negotiable. The kid's resisting, like, what do you do? Right. And so it's like, yeah. So anticipating, having the conversation ahead of time, and it can even be helpful to just build extra time into your schedule, into your calendar, so that they can kind of warm up to the idea for just a minute or two if they need to, and just instead of just saying, I don't care, forcing you in the seat, forcing your arm through, I don't care for screaming and crying, just like pausing just a second, giving them just a second to kind of adjust to the idea. And so yeah, that's kind of where I'm coming from, trying to pick less battles and trying to just make it as easy as possible for the kids to do what they need to do.